Hi, it's Mark again, and I am here with Lauren Wong. I'm excited to have you here. Thanks for taking the time out from your third day on a new job.
Thank you. And
Um,
throw away.
yeah, and so I want to kind of just jump in. I think you have been doing some amazing advocacy work, and that's part of what I want to share is the importance of kind of being an advocate for the outdoors and people's access outdoors. And I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about what you've done with American Hiking Society and your role as a next gen leader.
They saw in me that I was somebody who was doing local work in my communities, had held positions or been a part of other like outdoor. I mean, we're not like an industry, but like outdoor spaces, I guess you could call like what OA is. Um, and they asked me to serve in this role. And one of the really cool things that I got to do in this role was go to Washington, D.C. For the Hike the Hill event, which is an event where a bunch of different outdoor advocacy groups come together for like a weekend or like a chunk of time. And they go and like set up meetings with their elected officials, and they go to like public hearings about bills that are being passed that directly affect the outdoors, and they make space for people to talk about why the outdoors is important to them, and why conserving it and giving resources to the folks that steward the land is important. So I got to be a part of that process and share my story about how education and the outdoors have all intersected for me, and why I think it's important that we continue to use our voices to talk to folks that allocate resources, that make these bills about protecting outdoor spaces and outdoor land.
So can you tell us, was there a particular bill that you were lobbying for? And were there any, what elected officials were you able to meet with when you were there?
Yeah. Um, some of the bills we were talking about were the Outdoors for All Act, and the Transit to Trails Act. And so those were bills that were like currently being talked about in different committees. And I think it was really cool while I was there. I got to meet somebody who works for American Hiker Society and runs the Next Gen Trail Lead program. His name's Tyler. And he is just somebody who like lives in Washington, D.C. and is in the know about all the bills and stuff, like things that maybe a normal person who's passionate about the outdoors like wouldn't necessarily know, but like he knew what was going on in senators' offices. So like it was cool because I got an invite to like go meet with Kamala Harris's people, and like go meet with Jimmy Gomez, who I'm from the currently live in the LA area, so he is the representative for my district. And so while I didn't get to meet these people officially, I did get to meet their like other people. It was cool to be able to like talk about real bills that they had like been working with. And so it was cool because you share your story, and then it's kind of like a little political in a way, like you have to like name a bill that they're working on, because I mean they have just so much on their plates. So when you say something like, hey, I'd really like to talk about the Outdoors for All Act, they kind of go, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. Like, I know what that bill is. And like, yes, we're endorsing it. Or no, we're not endorsing it. And then that's our opportunity to be like, no, but as a constituent, like, I want you to endorse it for these reasons. And so that was really interesting. That time, we were actually able to like meet with some senators that were Republican senators that were kind of on the fence about whether or not they wanted to endorse the bill. And so they ended up actually endorsing it, which is awesome. And it's so political, right? Like that bill was called the Outdoors for All Act, and like what does that mean and what's actually in the bill. And I think by the time that it got passed later on, which was like a while after the Hike the Hill event, it had become slightly different than what we were advocating for. So stuff just like moves so quickly, which is crazy.
Yeah, at the same time, it feels like it takes forever because people were probably working on the Outdoors for All Act for years before it got to be passed.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, like all of these people had been in rooms like talking about some version of this thing for years. And so like for me just to come in for like a weekend and be like, hey, I like the outdoors too, like please endorse this act, like it was crazy. But then to hear from the people that have been like doing all the other advocacy work, that like me sharing my voice as a constituent for that representative is so important, it kind of like opened my eyes to like, wow, like getting involved in the politics as a constituent, just as like an everyday person who has like buy-in because you're the elected official, like I elected you, like that was really powerful to understand that like, oh, I have power
Mhm.
even if I wasn't involved in like getting this thing through the door.